think it was you? Chapter 6. Page 30. Merle is waiting for me in the living room while I creep down the stairs again, my hair wet, my face only slightly less flushed. She's holding a newspaper, but she lays it down on the couch when she hears me coming. I was just checking to see what's going on around town today, she says. Something you might want to do. I sit down on the edge of the couch and glance at the paper. Its masthead reads, The Sanderfield Reporter, with the words, the best source of news in Sanderfield, Illinois, in smaller type below. It's amazing how relieved I feel that I won't have to ask like some amnesia victim in a soap opera, where am I? I'm in Sanderfield, Illinois, not Indiana, not Iowa, Illinois. One small mystery solved. Who knows how many huge mysteries still gaping in front of me. I didn't know if there were any movies you wanted to see, Merle says. She lets her voice trail off, leaving an opening for my answer. I could say, I don't care about movies. I want you to tell me who Elizabeth is. I could say, I want you to explain why my parents are acting so weird. But I open my mouth and I can't make those words come out. Maybe I don't quite want to know. You're safe there, my father said over the phone. What did he mean? Am I safer being ignorant? What is he trying to keep me safe from? Merle is watching me. She seems to have worked up to being able to stare directly at me. I imagine us spending the entire day this way, her studying me, tongue-tied and terrified. Is there anywhere around here to swim, I asked. Merle does a double take. You like swimming? She asked incredulously, as if I've announced that I want to go skydiving or bungee jumping. I'm on a swim team, I say. If I get out of practice, it could ruin my times for the entire season. Coach Dinkle would be very proud of my dedication, but it's not really my times I'm worried about. I just need to be in the water right now. I've never tried to explain this feeling to anybody, not even the other kids on my swim team, who tend to be as obsessed about times and personal best as Coach Dinkle is. But it's different for me. I can remember the first time my parents took me to a swimming pool. I was 3 years old. Mom and Dad stood in the shallow end with me, their legs forming a protective circle around me, so none of the other little kids would splash me. But something happened. Maybe I slipped. Maybe a little wave made it past the barrier of their bodies and knocked me down. Anyhow, my face slid under. Strangely, I wasn't scared. I didn't try to gulp in air. Maybe I'd just taken a big breath already by chance. So I opened my eyes wide and calmly looked around. The underwater world delighted me. The refraction of sunlight in the water currents, the crispness of colors, the distortion of sound, the way every movement seemed to be in slow motion. I felt like I'd discovered a new universe, the one where I truly belonged. My father plucked me out of the water and immediately began trying to soothe me. There, Daddy won't let that bad old water get you. You're okay. I pushed him away. Again, I cried, trying to dive down out of his arms. Mom and Dad stared at me in astonishment, sort of the same way Merle was staring at me now. I began howling, and nothing would satisfy me until they let me plunge back down into that water. That time I did choke a little on the water, but I didn't care. I surfaced again only long enough to get air. What if she drowns? I remember Mom asking in a quavery voice. I guess we'll just have to teach her about holding her breath, Dad said, his voice cracking with amazement.
Is Peyton here?
All the way home from the pool that day, I chanted in a sing-songy voice. I'm a mermaid, I'm a mermaid, I'm a mermaid. I remember this mostly because of the way my parents sat so silently in the front seat of the car. They didn't keep turning around to smile at me the way they usually did when I sang in the back seat. Had they wanted me to be scared of the water? It probably didn't help that I kept nagging them to go back to the pool after that. Nagged and begged and pleaded until I signed up for my first swimming lesson, only a week or so later. Even if they hadn't wanted me to swim, they hadn't been able to refuse me. From Merle's expression now, though, I kind of expected her to tell me no. You need an indoor pool this time of year, she says doubtfully. I guess there's one at the Y, but I'm not a member. Let me check their guest policies. She stands up and heads for the phone in the kitchen. I follow her because I don't know what else to do. This is Merle Wilker, she says, after looking up the number and dialing. I have a visitor staying with me who would like to go swimming. Is there any way? I'd been studying a stenciled border that runs around the top of the kitchen walls. One painstakingly painted basket of pink and yellow and purple flowers after another. But I look at Merle when she says that one word, visitor. Why didn't she say niece, I wonder? And maybe the question shows up in my eyes because Merle's gaze darts nervously away. You would do that for me, she says into the phone. Well, thanks. We'll be there in a little bit. She hangs up and asks me, I guess it's possible after all. You have a swimsuit with you? Sure, I say. You don't mind swimming after you just finished taking a shower? I shrug. I don't feel like myself if I don't smell like chlorine, I say. Merle laughs, but she has an odd expression on her face. What's so baffling about a 12-year-old girl's wanting to swim? 10 minutes later, we're sitting in Merle's car, backing out of her driveway. My 7-inch growth spurt in the past year brought me to the grand height of 5'5", which I think is supposed to be average for an adult woman. But it's too much for Merle's car. My knees are practically in my ears. Sorry, Merle says, seeing me squirm. This is one of the earlier gas-electric cars, and they hadn't quite worked out the size issues back then. I look over and see that Merle's knees fit perfectly under the doll-sized steering wheel. I hadn't really noticed before how much I tower over Merle. It's strange, since I was the shortest kid in my class from 1st grade through 6th grade. But I always kind of felt like I was destined to be tall. I don't dwell on it as much as I could. Usually it's just me driving around by myself, Merle is saying, sounding apologetic. That's why Joss talked me into buying this. Joss, I say? My daughter. Merle swings her head around, checking for cars as she turns into the street. Oh wait, let's go the other way so you can see downtown. I'll give you the mini tour of the town. It won't take long. She turns down an alley and I feel like she's changed the subject on purpose. I don't want a tour of Sanderfield. I want a road map of forbidden topics. Elizabeth, Joss, my parents' current location. The reason for leaving me with Merle. Their reason for never mentioning her to me before last night. Her reason for not calling me her niece over the phone. I'm just not sure if I want that road map so I can avoid those topics or so I can explore them. Abraham Lincoln once spent the night in that house over there, but it was just because his carriage wheel broke on the outskirts of town, Merle's saying. She babbles a little more about historic houses and Civil War troop movements, and then we're in the town square my parents and I drove through last night, when I thought the whole place was hibernating. It doesn't look much livelier this morning, though now the lights are on in the shops. A furniture store, a florist, a Dollar General, and something called Prairie Expressions. Our downtown has had quite a revitalization in the past few years, Merle says, sounding proud. It had gone kind of downhill there for a while. We were all really worried about our little town. We passed the flaking away billboard that I noticed last night, and Amanda's standing on a ladder beside it, peeling off its layers of years-old advertisement. Wonderful, Merle says. I'm so glad they're finally taking care of that eyesore. We'll be in great shape now. My parents and I have moved around a lot, but we've always lived in the suburbs of some East Coast city. I'm used to gleaming new malls, fancy restaurants, beautifully landscaped parks. By those standards, Sanderfield, with or without the billboard, looks run down and pathetic and forgotten. But there's something I envy in Merle's voice, the pride, the way she says, we. I've never lived anywhere that inspired that tone in anyone's voice. The only we my family's ever been a part of really is the three of us. I helped plant those flowers on the courthouse lawn, Merle says, pointing. The chrysanthemums, see? I look at and the chrysanthemums are glorious flashes of yellow and orange, bursting across the lawn in arcs from a stone marker. Is there some kind of plaque over there, I ask, squinting at a square of bronze on the marker. What, do they engrave your name in bronze every time you plant a couple flowers? It's a stupid crack, but I'm surprised Merle doesn't answer right away. I glance over and she's frozen, her fingers clenched on the steering wheel, her gaze fixed straight ahead. Then she winces, and that breaks the spell. No, that's a memorial, she says slowly. A memorial for someone who died a long time ago. I can hear the effort she's making to sound nonchalant, to pass off the plaque as just another dusty historical marker that doesn't matter to anyone anymore. But she's not a very good actress. Who, I want to ask? Who's it a memorial to? Who died a long time ago? For a moment I think I've actually asked those questions aloud because Merle glances at me quickly, her face a troubled mask. Then she goes back to staring at the street ahead, as if she's wearing blinders. Remember what blinders are? For the horses, yeah, that block their vision. And then it's too late for me to ask anything. Too awkward. We drive the rest of the way in silence. The Y is a low, sprawling building, surprisingly large for a town the size of Sanderfield. We stop at the front desk, and a cheerful-faced woman greets Merle. You were in a hurry to get here. I'll fill out the paperwork so you can go right in. I'll just need your name. She's looking at me, so I say, Bethany. Bethany Cole. C-O-L-E. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Merle's head jerk back and her eyes squint together. It's like she's surprised to hear my last name. Like she didn't know what it was, or she thought it was something different. But when I turn and look at her directly, she's managed to iron out her expression. The woman at the desk has her head bent over the papers. She sees nothing. Address, she says? It's 3852 Tyler Ave. I started to reel out Greenleaf, Pennsylvania address, although it already seems nearly as far away and long ago as other houses my parents and I left behind. Merle interrupts. Oh, just put down the same address as mine, she says. 605 Morning Street. It's probably easier to have everything local, isn't it? I guess, the woman says doubtfully. And are you sure I can't pay something, Merle asks. I'm perfectly willing. The woman waves away the offer, and the cheerful grin restored to her face. Oh, no, Mrs. Wilker. After what you did for my little Ronald, believe me, this is the least I can do. I tell everyone I wasn't sure he was even human until we moved here and I sent him off to kindergarten and you turned him around. I'll just put you down as my guest and Bethany down as Ronald's, and there's no charge. She beams at Merle, and Merle thanks her, and we head for the locker room. I already put my bathing suit on under my clothes, so all I have to do is yank off my jeans and sweater and toss them and my glasses and bag into a locker. After those few strange, awkward moments in the car and at the desk, I'm even more eager to immerse myself in chlorinated water, to think of nothing for the next hour but the pool of my strokes, the power of my kicks. There's a kind of etiquette of locker rooms, anyhow, that even if you yourself haven't stripped down to total nudity, you don't look around too much in case someone else has. So I'm not paying attention to anything except the need to grab my goggles and towel and shut the locker door. That makes it all the more jarring when I turn around and come face to face with a strange woman who's absolutely staring at me. Her jaw agape, her eyes practically popping out of their sockets. It can't be, she murmurs. Peyton, will you close the door for me, please? Behind her, a little girl who's maybe 3 or 4 shivers in a wet towel. Mommy, she complains, I'm cold. Aren't you going to help me get changed? The woman doesn't seem to hear. She's so transfixed, staring at me. The woman actually lifts her hand and brushes her fingers against my skin as if to prove to herself that I'm not a hallucination. She says, and seems to recover control of herself a little bit. I'm sorry, you just look so much like someone I used to know. Years ago, when I was your age, and not middle-aged and loopy, and she gestures toward her stomach. Squinting, I realize that her stomach sticks far out over the waistband of her workout pants. She's pregnant. She's also still blinking like she can't believe her eyes. This is just amazing, she says. Are you by any chance related to... She's related to me. It's Merle coming up from behind me, from the bathroom on the other side of the locker room. The woman takes a step back, practically stepping on her daughter's toes. Oh, that makes sense then, I guess, she says, but she still sounds dazed. She's still staring at me. How have you been doing lately, Tammy? Merle asked. How's Bryce adjusting to 2nd grade? Oh, I'm fine, the woman says vaguely. She tears her gaze away from me. Why aren't you at school today, Mrs. Wilker? You aren't sick, are you? No, Merle says. I just took a personal day. First one in more than 20 years. It's kind of refreshing to see what the rest of the world does between 8 and 3. She smiles, and under the cover of that smile, I slip out of the locker room and into the pool area. Then I'm underwater, my arms flailing, my legs threshing, but no matter how furiously I swim, I can't outpace my thoughts. That woman's expression was straight out of a horror movie, I think, trying and failing to swim even faster. If I were a director, that's just how I'd tell an actress to look, if she saw a ghost. Bum, bum, bum. What do we think now? That was a long